I want to introduce my panel, the panel of DBPR, or Doing Business in Puerto Rico. Please join me. Mark Carey. Mark Carey is the CEO of Soul Partners, and Mark Carey is a pioneer in his industry, but also a pioneer in this program. Mark has his tax decree number is number 6 of, please join. And Dennis and Jancy, please come up front. And his tax decree is decree number 6 of 2013. He's been here in the island for a couple of years now, and he has gone through all the steps from 1 to 10, including giving back. Actually, his foundation, Club Curry, has an event this weekend, a gala, so he'll talk about it probably in a minute. I will allow them to introduce themselves. The second panelist is Dennis Frank. Dennis is the chairman of the board of Silvergate Bank, and Dennis is halfway through the wave. So Dennis just got his tax decree, and he's going to start a consulting firm from Puerto Rico, and he's in the process of hiring employees, and he can also talk about all the probably misconception and bumps in the road, but also why he enjoys being here in Puerto Rico so much. And the third panelist is my good friend and client of Integro Foundation, Yancy Wright. Yancy, it's one of those locals that came here not because of the tax incentives, but because of the beautiful weather and the opportunity to start anew. And he fell in love immediately with the island, so much that he created an organization to promote wellness in the island. And he's my example of commencing with step 10, giving back first. So without further delay, I'm going to start allowing the panelists to tell me what has been your experience with these steps and share your moments of frustrations and satisfaction. You can also present yourself, Mark, and talk to me about your 10 steps.
I think that Janelle does a great job. She's been doing work for us since even before we moved down here, so she's fantastic. To give her a plug. I can tell you that our experience, really because of her and the firm that she used to be with, was actually very pleasant. It was a little more time consuming than you might think that it would be, but it was something that was well thought, and they provided the guidance to get where we needed to be. And I think that at the end of the day, when you get the tax decree and you have to sign it, it's kind of an interesting process. You're like, well, contract with the government. That's kind of a little nerve-wracking as you think about it. But all in all, I've found it to be a very clear process. Only obviously because of your help.
Oh, yeah. Well, but why would you say, like, why would you say that it would be a frustrating moment, if at all, or besides the satisfaction of receiving the tax decree, other moment that you feel like you're glad to be here? Because from what we talk, you're one of the clients that have told me, like, I've asked you, Mark, when do you think you're going to go back? And he said, like, never. Why is that, Mark?
Well, what I've found to be, I will tell you, probably the most nerve-wracking or the more difficult part of the process is if you have operations in the domestic side as well as here, and you're doing services back and forth between your Act 20 company and a domestic company, understanding that you're doing an arm's length transaction to avoid any of the stateside IRS issues, having a transfer pricing study done, dealing with economists on that, understanding what that means, and then literally having to execute your business, the services back and forth based on those studies. That's probably the most, I guess, unexpected part that you have to deal with. But the reason why you say don't go back is for 86 degrees year round is pretty good. I grew up in Kansas City, and it gets cold there. And now when I go back and it's 65 degrees, I have to wear a jacket because I'm freezing.
Your body temperature change.
That's right. But what I would say for here is the people have been amazing. So I don't know if that's part of your
No, that's
Q&A,
great.
but
That
that's-
you're just confirming that they're not so easy 10-step. No.
That's true.
Thank you, Mark. How about you, Dennis? What's been your experience so far, and what do you expect to upcoming now that you got your tax decree?
Thanks. My experience has been outstanding. I moved here about almost 3 years ago, and I was an early convert. I came and got my 22 Act grant very early on, the individual benefits from a taxation purpose. And I've hesitated to set up an Act 20 company, as you know. My job is not, or my business is not transportable. It's located firmly ensconced, California. Having said that, I worked out of a home office 2 days a week while I was actually in San Diego running the day-to-day operations. And a few years ago, I took a step back a little bit from day-to-day activities and brought in some senior management to oversee the daily routine at the bank. And as a result, found myself with a little flexibility to be able to telecommute even more. Very significantly telecommuting, 4-hour time difference at this time of year. So I came out here to explore things early on, and I didn't know anyone. I'd been to the island once in the 80s on a long weekend, and really didn't know much about Puerto Rico, except the weather was good, the surf was good, and the place is beautiful. So when I came, I really didn't know what to expect. I wasn't even sure I was going to stay. I came and took a short-term rental, and got my 22 decree very quickly, and it was very easy. I locked onto a law firm. I simply went into Martindale and Hubble and found a guy who graduated from NYU in the same time I did, and called him up, and 2 months later I had my decree. It was very straightforward. The experience that I've had here has been really terrific. In addition to banking, I'm involved in real estate and financial services in general, real estate finance. And there's a lot of interesting things going on here, both in the banking sector and in terms of real estate, both distressed and in terms of new development opportunities. And I keep coming back over and over again when people ask me what my experience is like here. The weather's great. That speaks for itself. The waves are really good. As you may have guessed, I'm a surfer, a California fella who transplanted here to warmer waters. But the people of this island are amazing. I didn't have much opportunity or much occasion to get involved in terms of business activities in the very beginning. I was just tending to my affairs at the bank and telecommuting. But I had naturally lots of opportunity to engage with people on a daily basis. And the people of this island are incredibly warm, incredibly embracing. And both on a personal level in the grocery store, but all the way into the business affairs as well, and government affairs. I am the person that Janelle was referring to, who would prefer to have his money spent by people that I think are trying to do a better job here than people stateside. We'll leave that alone for the moment. But the experience has been nothing but positive. The people here have been very engaging. The infrastructure, the attitude surrounding the infrastructure is very embracing. This place is open for business. At the highest echelons of business, government, this is a very welcoming place to come and launch your endeavors. In terms of the bureaucratic, the infrastructure itself, systemically, it takes a long time to get things done. Opening a bank account, getting your company registered, a little bit frustrating to the uninitiated, but you start to develop attitude adjustments when you've been here for a while. You accept the fact that there's a different pace. I'm originally from New York. Had I come here straight from New York City, I'm not sure how I would have dealt with it. But having had 20 years to soften the New York sharp edges in California, it worked quite well. So in summary, the experience has been nothing but positive. I've developed a little bit more patience, partly due to the fact that I'm a foreigner coming to a foreign land. I speak a little bit of Spanish, not enough to engage in business, but enough to get through a cocktail party and tell a taxi driver where I'm going. And Spanish as a second language is not required to do business here. The people here, inevitably, you'll find someone within earshot who can translate for you if you get stuck. And in business, it really has not been an impediment at all. So I see a tremendous amount of opportunity here, not just to save some money in my personal income taxes, but the new company that I will be establishing down the road, engaged in real estate, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. The banks still have a tremendous amount of problem loans that need to be resolved, and there is a tremendous amount of infrastructure that needs to have life breathed back into it. And in that sense, the opportunity continues. So I strongly recommend it. I've been nothing but pleased, and I, like Mark, do not intend to go back. My friends and family say, well, how long are you going to be there? I said, well, I think this is probably where I'm going to be. I'm going to be finishing up whatever it is we're doing here.
Thank you, Dennis. Yancy, talk about a little bit about the misconceptions you think people could have about Puerto Rico, and what's your opinion about that?
Well, like Dennis, I moved here about 3 years ago now, and also like Dennis, I was attracted to the warm weather, the lovely culture, and I'm a kite surfer, kiteboarder, so we both are out there hanging out on the waves, just different times of day. The misconceptions, I came here initially with huge aspirations to develop an off-the-grid wellness retreat center. And, with any development project, a lot of my development friends just sort of laughed at me and said, give yourself 5 to 7 years, especially with a vision like what you're trying to do of helping transform people's lives and really dispel the myths around sustainable living. What's proved to be true is that while as supportive as the government has been, the situations that's happened here have made it difficult to raise the funding that I've needed. So what I have had, on the other hand, is an ability to pivot the approach I was taking. And there's some really great support systems here, Foundation for Puerto Rico, Grupo Guayacán, some great entrepreneurial support systems that have helped me pivot. So essentially what I'm doing is still building a retreat business. I'm just partnering with other facilities. I now have some really large corporate groups. I have 150 people coming next week, 350 people coming next month. So I'm bringing business here and allowing other companies to start to experience Puerto Rico that were really gun shy on coming to Puerto Rico. I would say the biggest misconception about Puerto Rico is what's in the media in the US. As most of you know that have been here for a while, it's not dangerous. I go back to Seattle, where I'm from, and I see more shootings and stabbings happen in my visit being back home than I've ever seen in my entire 3 years here. It doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It's just that there's a big misconception in the media. So I would say that, to me, while there's many ups and downs, there's so many positive sides to being here and doing business here, especially if you're willing to be a pioneer and you're willing to be innovative and shift and make adjustments, because things may not always turn out exactly as you hope.
Okay, thank you, Yancy. Mark, I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the future of Act 20, or what would you like it to be? The Act 20 and the entire incentive program, how do you see this, where do you see this going?
Well, I think from the business perspective, it really is a breath of fresh air to come to a place where, as Dennis and Yancy have said, where the people here at the government level are willing to support what you're doing. They welcome you here. I think that growing this, and as Mr. Bacall said earlier, taking time for things to percolate, if you will, is incredibly important, because it's once the steam gets going, it really is a true benefit to the people of Puerto Rico, to the economy of Puerto Rico, and what I'd like to see, obviously, there's strength in numbers, and I've always believed that, and so I'm sure that the IRS would love to come in and knock a few people off for potentially not doing business the right way, which I think is a real important piece of that, where you have a lot of, this isn't like saying you live in Oklahoma, or you live in Nevada, but you're really in Oklahoma. I mean, this is one of these things where your physical presence and all that
really
stuff,
matters.
when you get into the tax side of it, at least on the Act 22 side. But I think the strength in numbers of people doing business the right way and doing it with the people in the right mindset really make a big difference.
I agree. And in terms of what advice would you give to any company, to any people that are here listening to you in terms of relocating to Puerto Rico, and what considerations should they have?
You should do it yesterday, because once you get here, the lifestyle, it is a little more laid back, but it's not any more focused on being successful. people here are very talented. That's one of the, go back to the misconception side of it, and people said, oh yeah, but you're going to Puerto Rico, but it's going to be hard to hire people. I can tell you that I have found that there is more concentrated talent in Puerto Rico than you would find in some of the more major cities in the U.S., at least from our perspective.
How many employees does Soul Partners already have?
We're just a little under 50.
Right,
well,
and most
so
of them
that'll
Puerto
be-
Rico, right?
Yeah, that's all in Puerto Rico. So it's been, my decision to move here was in November of 2012. And I think from all the fears, and I said, oh, I'm just going to do the 3 years just because I didn't want to feel like I was trapped, if you will. And I don't feel that at all. I feel like this is as Dennis said, I don't know any reason why you'd want to go back.
This is home. That's great. Yancy, do you want to add anything to that?
Sure. I mentioned a little bit about pivoting what I'm doing with our business, and the advice that I would give for those of you coming here is to get involved. I have a client coming next week, and it may be strange when I mention the name of this client as it relates to wellness, but it's Tito's Handmade Vodka, and they're bringing 150 employees next week, and they were really hesitant to come here. But what I did is I said, hey, we have an opportunity. And I'm going to quote a local Puerto Rican friend, Joaquin, that actually made this beautiful piece of artwork that's going to be on all the T-shirts of the Tito's people coming, because we're all volunteering. I've set up a half day of volunteering. We're volunteering for 7 organizations across San Juan. And this T-shirt says, it actually has the island turned upside down. And it says, the only way to turn an island around is to create a critical mass that gives a damn. And so for Tito, I don't know if you know much about Tito himself, but his business became what it is because he gave back. Distributors wouldn't distribute his vodka because he was just some guy making vodka out of his garage. But what happened is he started going to all of his nonprofit friends and volunteering and serving the vodka himself and giving away his vodka at these fundraisers. And what happened is little bit by little, he started to take orders for vodka and grow his business that way. In 2007, he was still taking his inventory by hand, and now he's doing over $1 billion a year. And so he's going to come, and he's actually going to speak to Guayacán, a group of companies here. We're going to do a coaching session with 20 of their sales team members with a number of companies here that are struggling with sales and growing globally. But my advice, for people coming here is get involved. Get involved. There are amazing nonprofits here. The volunteer projects that we're just doing next week, they range from animal shelters to an HIV/AIDS food kitchen that was started by a woman whose son died in Seattle. And they modeled this after another program in Seattle. I mean, there's amazing things going on. We all are, if we're coming from other places, we all have a ton of leverage, lessons learned that we can leverage here. And there are a lot of great things already happening here. So my advice is just get involved, learn the culture, give back as much as you can, because there's so much that you'll get in return.
Thank you. So we just have a couple of minutes left. Is there any questions, specific questions that for our panel? No?
Jenna, one quick
Yes,
thing.
go ahead.
Talking about giving back is real important. One of the things you mentioned, a fundraiser we're doing. This Saturday, if you all are in town, we're doing a fundraiser for the San Jorge Children's Hospital Foundation. It's the Children's Cancer Hospital. It's going to be at the El San Juan Hotel. If you go to clubcurry.com, you can purchase tickets there. They're $300. A lot of people will be there. It'll be a good time. And all the money that we're raising is for the Children's Hospital. So to mirror what they're talking about, giving back is critically important in any community that we're in, and especially this one.
Well, thank you. And thank you all for being here. And thank you for your attention. Have a great day.